Okay, guys, we are back with another show. My name is Carlton. A lot of my students call me Coach Carl or Coach CO2. And this is episode 3. I've decided to do these as Instagram lives. So if anyone hops on and it's a live show, we can rap. I can answer questions as we go. And then, of course, we try to repurpose this for podcasts and also for YouTube for folks who want to see a video or also want to catch the replay on the podcast. So this is the podcast. This is the 1L. I decided on the name 1L Playbook Podcast is what you are experiencing now. Okay. And this is episode 3. So what I wanted to do today is, well, first of all, last episode I went over the 3 secrets that every first year law student needs to know in order to pass and excel on their law school exams. Now, in that recording, I'm still trying to figure out all the tech stuff, trying to figure out how to do different things. I realized that when I was writing, it was showing the writing coming back as backwards. So for anyone that saw that show, I apologize for that. We definitely made some adjustments. But just as a recap, the 3 secrets, and we're going to dive more into these maybe on some more shows, is number 1, you don't have to do as much reading, and you don't have to be a good writer in order to pass your law school exam. Secondly is you have to make sure that you build efficient and effective outlines. And thirdly, you have to practice writing law school exams. The more practice, the better you get, the more confidence you get. But you can't practice if you don't know what you're supposed to study. You can't study if you don't know actually how to brief and outline. And you can't brief and outline if all you're doing is just spending all your time reading, and writing, and not really knowing how all that plays in. So anyhow, those are the 3 secrets. We're going to dive more into that on some more shows. But today, I want to tell you a story. Now, if you're a first year law school student, you're probably just settling into getting your books and getting slammed on all of these different cases and going to class, and you're in classrooms with your other law school colleagues, and you have that one student that writes beautiful briefs that has every line highlighted in a different color, and everybody's running around and they're looking busy, right? Or they have all these books in the library and they're studying, and so you get up in the morning and you see them at 7 a.m. and then you see them at midnight and they're open with the book studying, and you ask yourself, am I working hard enough? Am I doing enough, right? You probably, depending on when you watch this show, you probably are in that mindset. But let me tell you a story. I'm not sure if you guys ever remember watching the Karate Kid. And I'm not talking about the new school version, so I'm going to date myself a little bit here. But there was the original Karate Kid. This was a movie that came out in, I think, mid to late 80s. I was a kid at the time. Short story long, Danielson's getting bullied by some kids at school. His name is Danielson. There's 2 main characters, Danielson and Mr. Miyagi. Danielson is getting bullied by some kids at school. Wants to learn karate. I'm not going to give you the whole story because I don't want to spoil it if you haven't watched it, really. Gets into some trouble, wants to learn karate, finds out that Mr. Miyagi, who's this older gentleman, older Asian cat that knows karate. So he asks Mr. Miyagi to teach him karate. And so Mr. Miyagi said, okay, come on over to my house at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and I'll start teaching you some karate. So Danielson gets there all excited, and he goes to Mr. Miyagi's house. He gets there. Mr. Miyagi, first thing Mr. Miyagi has him do is uh, uh, he shows him an old fence, and he gives him a gallon of paint and a brush and says, paint the fence. And so Danielson starts to paint the fence like this, side by side, for folks who are not watching, like your horizontal. He said, no, I want you to go up, and I want you to go down when you paint. Up and down the paint. He said, okay. So he finishes, he's excited, thinking, okay, now I've done these chores. Maybe he just wanted me to do some chores for him as payment. So then after I do these chores, then he will teach me some karate. So he finishes early. Mr. Davis says, oh, thank you, but you're not done. You see all the rest of this other fence on the other side of the house? I need you to paint that too. So Davidson paints that. Comes back the next day thinking, okay, he's done all these chores. He's finally going to learn some karate. Mr. Miyagi said, okay, I want you to wax these cars. I want you to wash and wax all of my cars in here. He has some old cars in his lot. I think he was like some old 50 cars, 50s, 60s cars, real big body cars. And Danielson was like, oh, here we go again. So he's washing the car, and then Mr. Miyagi says, oh yeah, Danielson, I want you to wax on with your right, no, with your left hand, wax on. With your right hand, I want you to wax off. Something like that. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. So he's out there waxing on, waxing off. Hot, fuming. I mean, he feels like, what in the world am I out here doing all this for? This is crazy. It's not karate. So finally, out of frustration, he says, after doing all this stuff, he says, Mr. Miyagi, are you out here having me do all this manual labor? I'm not learning karate. I'm tired of it. I quit. And Mr. Miyagi says, but Danielson, you're learning karate. And he says, no, I'm not. I'm out here doing all this work. Danielson, no, you're learning karate. He said, show me wax on, wax off. Danielson started to motion wax on, wax off on the car. He said, oh, no. He said, show me wax on, wax off in front of me. So he started doing wax on, wax off. So then Mr. Miyagi started throwing punches. Hi-ya, 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 wax off, hi-ya, wax off, hi-ya. So Davidson was blocking the different punches, and then he says, show me painting the fence, paint the fence. So he started painting the fence. He said, hi-ya, started to kick. Started trying to kick him, but then Davidson was able to block it. Then he'll go up and block the kick up here, up high, block the kick down low. So the moral of the story is that Davidson didn't think he was actually learning anything, but he was learning karate from Mr. Miyagi by doing some level of repetition. And so this story really illustrates what the traditional law school learning experience is really about. And you have some that will swear by it, that this is the best way to be able to learn the law. And essentially what that is hammering you with all these books, having you read and write and do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of briefs, and somehow in you doing all of this reading, all of this briefing, all of this writing, that somehow you're going to magically learn the law. And I guess going back to the illustration is that if Danielson knew going in that what he was doing was helping him to learn karate, maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't have been so lazy with his wax on and wax off or his paintbrushing. Maybe if he knew that these different things that he was learning was fundamentally going to make him a better karate person, maybe he would have taken a little bit more pride in his style and his work ethic as he was going through. But because he didn't know that he was actually learning karate through these means, there was a missed opportunity there. And so with going through this law school experience, I'm not saying that it's not necessary that you have to read briefs, you not read briefs, read case law, do briefs, extract the law, do all the things necessary that quote unquote the status quo wants you to do, the traditional law school experience wants you to do. But I'm here to tell you that there's a better way. And the way is understanding this process of reading, briefing, outlining on one hand, but also understanding that this is not the best way to learn law. It's not the best way to extract what you need for the law exam. The best way to learn law, you guys, is to know what the law is and actually practice showing how the law is displayed in your practice exams and gaining confidence in reinforcing what that law is. So I like to look at it this way. Going back to the example, is that if Danielson would have known that all these different things he was doing was going to help him get better at karate, of course he would have taken more pride in learning how to do these things. But also he would have known that, okay, maybe I need to know exactly what the blocking motion is to begin with, and the blocking the kick motion is to begin with. In another means, just know what it is, know what the let's just say know what the technique is. And so as I'm going through doing the wax on, the wax off, and painting the fence, I'm enhancing my technique in order to have a better outcome. And that's exactly the approach that we talk about, that I teach in my course, in the ebook, and also just in just one-on-one coaching. Is I don't start you with case law. I start you with the law. And once you know what the law is, or in this example, the technique, then you take that technique and you go back to case laws and you start to see that technique or that rule displayed in case law just for clarity, just to be able to polish it, to enhance that you actually know what that law is, but you truly don't know that law. Just like in the example with Danielson and Miss Miyagi, you truly don't know that law until you actually use it. The problem is that with most laws, how law school is currently set up for 1Ls, is that you don't realize that what you need to know and how you need to know it and when you need to know it, all that comes in so late and so close to the time in which you have to take the exam, that you're doing something that most of us did in college, which is just cram, trying to learn what you need to know, and then just hoping for the best. But if you're spending such a large investment in law school, you've gotten to law school, you got through some of the most treacherous things, some of the most violent things, and those violent things I'm talking about starts with an L and ends with a T. It has an S and an A in the middle. You've been able to get through all of that. You're making the investment, whether it's through student loans or, aunts, uncles, aunties helping to pay for law school, right? You have to make sure that you're going to get the edge on your exams, because the exams, once they come in, once you do them, it's that one time to do well. Once you set yourself to do well, the sky's the limit. So we're going to talk more about this topic of what I call the Karate Kid method of learning law. And it's also another method that I call learning law through osmosis, which is essentially what the law schools and law professors are expecting you to do. They're expecting you to literally learn law by just submerging you and drenching you with all of these books and cases and briefs, and they're not giving you any clarity as to how it all fits together. They're not giving you any direction on if you're even going down the right direction. So that's probably some frustration that you're probably dealing with right now, depending on when you're listening to this show or whenever you're seeing this show. But I'm here to tell you that there's a better way. We have figured out the formula. I figured out the formula, and I know exactly what needs to be done. And it is radically different from what is being talked about right now in the law school experience. So make sure you guys continue to follow us on Instagram. I'm going to say Twitter, but we haven't set up a Twitter page yet. But Instagram, Facebook. Go to 1L Playbook on Facebook as well. Sooner or later, I am going to be doing a free workshop on exam prep and writing exams, and also a little bit of class prep as well. We do also have an ebook that is going to be available. Make sure you continue to check in here on Instagram. It's also on Facebook on when that's going to drop. I'm going to probably do a pre-order, initially, just to promote the book, which I think that once you get your copy of the ebook, you will start to see exactly what I'm talking about. What items that we talk about here on the podcast to just reinforce what was important. And that's basically it, guys. If you have any questions or concerns, or you have any just general questions about the law school experience, how to get ready for prep, just any commonly asked question, you can always hit me up in the DM. You can also email us at support@1lplaybook.com. We're going to have some more interesting topics. We're going to dive in a little bit more. I think the next show we're going to talk about the importance of outlining, and I'm going to give you some framework that you should follow when creating your outline, and why it's so important to have this type of framework, because all this stuff is going to lead up to getting you more, as I like to say, more equipped to be able to prep and pass and excel on your first year law school exams. All right. So until next time, holla back. We'll talk. Bye-bye.